All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Today's conference call is finding and keeping technicians. So today, what an honor to have Joe Henry, the individual that owned and started ACT Auto Staffing, on the call, because frankly, in this dealerships where we send a lot to Joe Henry because it's the best website that I've seen available for finding and looking for technicians. And Joe, if you would share with us today, what is your best thought, your best practice on finding good techs?
Well, that's a great question, and thanks so much for having me today. And I'll talk about lots of different things, but let me answer your question direct. The most important thing today is response, how quickly you respond. We all have been around dealerships and we've heard about how more and more of the shopping is going towards the internet. And we've also heard how our dealers are always hearing that the quicker that their internet responding goes, the quicker they're going to get the deal, because if they don't, somebody else is going to. And that's the major thing, because we don't have unemployed technicians anymore. We have underemployed. Now that shifts them from being active job seekers into passive job seekers. And that means that if they put some information out or it's out there, that it needs to be pursued quickly and aggressively. That's the biggest tip right this second. So go right ahead. Did you want me just to kind of take over from here, Rob, or did you have a specific agenda?
No, absolutely. Give your input. Obviously, keeping technicians is critical, and you are the man. So go ahead and share with us.
Okay, so quick overview of what I'll talk about then. I'll tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about the company, as well as how it'll help your dealership. Some of the big dilemmas today in certain parts of the country and the world, then how that dilemma is going to continue to spill over into your world as well, and then finally we'll talk about how to change that, because that's, of course, the most important, and what to do about it. So a little bit about me. I started out we didn't even call it technicians. I was a mechanic, and I was one of the most popular guys in high school, and not because I was a chick magnet or an athlete. It was because I could fix everybody's cars and put their race car parts on. And put myself through college working on cars because there was no such thing as student loans. So I'm really dating myself on this whole thing. And then I was involved with the extended warranty business for years and years, which exposed me to thousands and thousands of dealers across the country. Really befriended lots of them. That was a great experience. Many of them were great friends and mentors. Went to work for one who was very aggressive, very progressive, and he wanted not only sales to grow profusely, but also fixed stops. And he was one of those, and I'm sure we've all been around some of those individuals where he could make you feel so good, but he could also crush you instantly. And one day he came walking out, and he says, "Joe, I want you to follow me out here to the back lot." So we went back there to the back lot, and I had a designated part of ones of the cars that were going to come into the shop, because by the way, I was a fixed stops director at that time. So he says, "You see this area?" He says, "This is the ones that are coming in the shop." And he says, "You see that area over there?" He said, "That's the ones that are done." And he says, "The area that are being done, are going to be done," he says, "is getting bigger and bigger." He says, "Do I look like I'm in the real estate business?" And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Marks?" He goes, "Do I look like I'm in the real estate business?" And I said, "No, sir." And he goes, "Then you better get these cars moved through. And if you can't find technicians, I'll find somebody to find them, because I'm not in the real estate business. I'm in the car business." So I had a tremendous amount of pressure put onto me. It crushed me. And so I started learning a lot more about how to find technicians, recruit them, bring them in, etc. And I did. And consequently, as I would go to Parts and Service Club meetings, people were having the same dilemma, but I had pretty much figured out how to do it. And so I was saying, oh, well, I've got extra resumes if you guys want those. And one of my other fixed ops director guys came up to me and he goes, you know, you're an idiot, Joe. I said, why is that? He says, because you should be selling these resumes. And, of course, he was kidding, but that's what it is. Anyway, our store got bought by a big consolidator, and, of course, our dealer pulled us in and said, the great news is we've sold it. The even better news is nothing's going to change because they want everybody that's in the store, and they love it, and we all knew better. And so that wasn't very long before the consolidators just changed everything, and off I went to do this business. That was in 1998, and that was 16 years ago. We have over 3,000 dealers across the country. 70% of our revenue comes from renewals and referrals. So that's a little bit about me and the company. How we help dealers is two distinct ways. The first is instant gratification. Second is long-term. Instant gratification is instantly. Everybody always has access to the resumes online. That is the vast resource and most target-rich when it comes to auto, truck, tire, and collision, bar none than anybody. And second thing is on a long-term basis, we still get 10 to 15,000 new job seekers a month as they come through and put their resume in. So our system helps you continue on a long-term basis as well. So that's a little bit about the company and how it helps you. But here's a real important part that is more about what Rob's talking about, which is the dilemma today. And let me just talk about how this is really in lots of the parts of the country, and some of you on today may even be in that and experience it. Like, for example, I have dealers in Minot, North Dakota, which if you know anything about that, that is where all the big fracking companies are. I have dealers in mining companies. I have dealers in areas where the oil companies are starting to work and so on. And what's happening is they are reaching out and grabbing everybody that they possibly can to come to work for them in the fields and on their cars and so on. And what they're doing is they're offering great money. So one of the things that I would say is this. Imagine an ad that says, wanted, auto and collision techs, $50 a clock hour plus production and sign-on and full bonuses. Now, you may think that that's kind of a futuristic ad coming up, but it's not going to be long before all of us are going to have to run ads like that because it is going to get so tight with technicians. And there's other reasons besides oil companies, but I'll get back to that for a second. The other part is in 2007, as we know, we had the housing market and the stock market crash, and about 25% of technicians were laid off because all of a sudden business got so bad so there was pink slips and they never returned back. Then we had our wonderful car czar, Darth Vader, Steve Ratner, who decided that one of the things that we needed to do is get rid of all of these Chrysler and GM dealers that were out there. And, of course, he went Old Testament on them, got rid of them, and then that didn't work out so well, as we all know, because they had to end up restoring most of those. Unfortunately, a lot of the dealers that had legacies of, and I knew a bunch of them, that had been in the family for years and years, they couldn't take it, and so they got out of the business, which meant that a lot of those technicians left and so on. And here's another big thief that's coming up for technicians, your favorite uncle, Uncle Sam. Look out onto your floor and see how many of them are baby boomers. And if they're born from 1954 or before, when they reach 62, they're going to be eligible. And if they don't think that doing what they're doing is unpleasant at 61, when they get to be 62, it's just they're going to feel intolerant because they can have that miracle lifestyle change that's there. And then, of course, as we know, technology is getting so tough. Astronauts landed on the moon with less technology than what's in today's cars. There's just all sorts of things, robbing those from one end to the other. Also, how many technicians do you know that tell their kids, yeah, you need to become a technician, because there really aren't kids coming into this. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's actually apps that are called ride apps. And what younger people are doing is they get an app in their phone, and they put in where they are and where they want to go, and the app matches them to somebody that does have a car, and they'll come to their wherever they are, pick them up and drive them and drop them off, and they don't ever have to put their phones down. They can sit there and do their social media, etc. So we are really going to see some dilemmas as far as technicians coming in. Now, that's kind of a little bit of the bad news. Let me give you some good news. As an overview of the country, the business is going to continue to grow, and we're going to do better because with this fracking, back to fracking and oil companies. So one of the things that's going to be very important to all of us in a big picture view is that, as an example, the richest man in England is a hedge fund manager, and he has committed to invest almost every bit of money that they have in the hedge fund in the United States of America, because in the next 8 to 10 years, with the fracking oil and gas business, the whole country is just going to turn very, very prosperous. And once again, we've already heard a little bit of the influence of how they're taking technicians. And it's just going to get harder and harder. And because we don't have younger people getting interested in these dilemmas, the thing that we have to do is, first of all, realize today that, once again, there are no unemployed technicians. They're only underemployed. And when I say underemployed, they're either not happy where they are, or they have to move geographically because family or whatever, or they're concerned about their shop, business falling off for whatever reason. They have a conflict with their manager, something or other. But they're not unemployed. And with that in mind, that's what you have to do is that when you are recruiting, you have to realize that they're very, very passive. They are not proactive at all. And so you have to shift your mind into what would I have to do to get technicians to even respond to me, to have a dialogue with me, etc. And I certainly have a couple of different articles on that, and be glad to share that with you as time goes along. But the bottom line is that because the economy is going to grow, because there's going to be so much of the recruiting factors into the technician arena that really aren't anything to do with dealerships and or automotive, it's just going to we're going to have a tremendous shortage. And one of the things I'd like to bring up is, as I'd mentioned, the last thing of the just general conversation, which is what we can do to change it. We have to make our factory reps aware of this. And if there's a time to do it, it's time now, because, as you know, most car companies are making money, and when they're making money, they're a little bit more liberal on what to do about dilemmas and to start thinking about what they, where there might be some resources. When the business is bad, you know how it is. They're cutting back warranty. They're cutting back everything. They're putting as much issue as they can onto the dealer as they can. And part of what we can influence is that we have to bring forth the fact of the shortages being out there. It's going to continue to get worse, and they need to start working with us on raising warranty rates as far as dollars. If there's also dilemmas on the actual time paid, they need to work with us on that, because if we don't, we're just going to keep squeezing these guys out more and more and not make it attractive to anybody else. And if you don't think that is the fact, look at what has happened in the collision industry. If any of you have a collision shop, you know that the insurance companies dictate how much money everybody makes on every little thing. And I do a lot of pro bono work for my local community college to pull people in to our auto, truck, tire, collision, marine program. And the collision program is the one that the least amount of kids are interested in, as well as that'll stay in, because once they hear about, how restricted it is, they're not as enthusiastic. So that's kind of a general overview of things, how it is. And Rob, do you have some specific questions or
Joe,
direction you want me to go?
I know that, first of all, in my opinion, it's obviously the best thing to do is when the dealerships always have it in their mind to grow their own technicians. In essence, to be planning for the entry level or the lower skilled technician that is available and develop them on just a routine basis so they know that, hey, we're going to continue to grow this business. What are your thoughts on growing your own technicians?
Well, and that's an excellent source. But once again, what you have to do is be aware of the factors that are coming up in the next couple of years, and that you need to do as much as you can to put retention bonuses in place to keep them there. And I'll share this story. This is one of my clients, once again, in North Dakota. He did exactly what you're talking about. There was a kid that came out of high school. His family knew their family. He brought him in, took him from Lube Tech up to some skill levels, got him some ASCs, and got him some Chrysler certifications. And the kid had been with him about 6.5, 7 years. And one day he came to the service manager and said, I know you're going to hate me for this, but I'm going to go off to the oil fields because my other friends are telling me I need to go. And he said, and he tried to make it look as bad as possible. He said, oh, they're going to put you out. They're going to make you work in the cold, and they're going to work you on weekends and this and that. And the kid said, I know, but I got to try it. And off he went. And he left not this past February, but the February before that. So he had left in February a year ago. And then after the Christmas holidays, right after that, the kid got a little bit of a vacation. So he came back to the hometown and went to have lunch with the service manager, who was, he considered his mentor and a great friend. And he said, let me show you why I left. And he laid down. They'd already given him his W-2 form. He made $142,000 from February to December 31st. So you got to keep these guys and know that these are the outside forces that are coming in to get them. So you got to, you got to pal up with them. You got to keep them inspired. You got to keep them going, because it's not like the old days where, if they had some dilemmas at home, you just ignored it and let them slay their own dragons. So, yes, it's very important to continue to grow those guys, because there's going to be many factors chasing them.
So you think the annual bonus, like if you're here a year, you get let's just use a number 200, and then on your second year that jumps to 280 or 300, and just keeps graduating to make it harder for them to leave.
Exactly. And even in sign-on bonuses, when you're looking for technicians, we call them sign-on bonuses, but they should be actually retention bonuses. And let me just give some extremes. This may scare some people, but I do have dealers around the country that are doing as much as $30,000 sign-on bonuses, but they sure don't pay it up front. They make it spread over 3 to 5 years, and that's what helps hold them down. And this is the same thing as you're growing, your technicians. You seriously need to sit down with your dealer and talk about how many of these factors are coming along to take these guys away. So be proactive about that and put together I used to always sit my techs down and say, here's what I'm going to do is, every 6 months that you're here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add up your total hours, and I'm going to put, $1 per hour in that bank, in a bank for you, in a bank, in an account for you to keep track of it. And then, every 3 years, retroactively, you can take that money and you can do whatever you want. So there's always 3 years worth of money sitting there that that they know if they pick up and they leave, they lose.
Okay. And what do you consider, if you were to look at your experience, common hiring mistakes that dealers make?
Not responding quick enough, number one. Number two, making the offer attractive enough. I still get calls from dealers themselves that say, I just came out of a 20 group and 5 of the guys that are in there are using you, and I need a Ford technician or a Toyota technician and so on, and I'll lay out a little bit of what needs to be done attractive-wise, and they go, oh, no, unemployment's 7%. I'm not giving any of that stuff. Well, it's maybe 7% or 6% in general, but again, Mr. Dealer, there are no unemployed technicians, and a lot of them will say, nope, I'm not doing that. Okay, and then they call me back a month later or 6 months later and so on and say, okay, so let's go through that again. What is it do you think I have to do? So the attractive offer, responding to them quickly, as well as making the effort out there. Once again, we all would like it better if we put an ad out there and they were proactively contacting us, but that doesn't happen anymore.
Interesting. So I've had that too, where the dealer gets so in tune with the what they're paying the technician that they lose sight that a good tech's going to generate $100,000 a year in parts revenue. Mm-hmm. So if they have the need for the tech and they go without that need, it cramps not only the service department, but it starts making it tough for the parts department to continue their growth. So total package, man, that's interesting. But a $30,000 sign-on bonus would make me a little bit nervous, that's for sure. But if you look at that over 5 years, it's an interesting thought.
We call it a sign-on bonus, but really it's a retention bonus. But anyway, you sure need, there's got to be some of it up front that makes them inspired.
And how many techs do you have right now on your site?
Well, I could just take a quick look. Total, as far as all across the country and all types of things, and we could even talk about specific manufacturers in itself. It says, as of this morning, this is a rolling count, 13,833.
13,800, so almost 14,000 technicians on your site all across the board in the United States.
And as an example, let me just specifically go into, and this is what people need to be aware of. So let me go into the specific manufacturers. As of this morning, and General Motors certified and or GM dealership experienced technicians, 426. Many BMWs, 109. Honda Acura, 189. Mercedes, 81. Porsche, 32. Mazda, 55. Subaru, 51. Audi, Volkswagen, 158. Ford, 417. Lexus, Toyota, 352. Land Rover, 44. And then Jaguar, 24. And then Chrysler Dodge Jeep Fiat, 351. Kia Hyundai, 98. But you can see the point I'm trying to bring up is it's such a small number and that's all across the country. It's such a small number compared to the total resumes.
Yeah, it is. That's interesting.
And
so
80% of these people, 80% of these people that you reach out to on this, they may have their resume out there, and it's there, and you can contact them. And if you get hold of them, 90% of them will just sit back and say, "Oh, well, I'm comfortable where I am and what I'm doing, but what is it that you have to offer?" So they're not. Yep, they're not necessarily looking. That's what I mean. The difference between active and passive job seekers. Because there really aren't any unemployed technicians anymore. They're just underemployed.
That's fascinating. Well, we will have Joe and Act Auto Staffing available as a friend, so you can find them on our friends on our website, and also contact Joe directly at any time. Okay, well, everybody, thank you for your attendance, and appreciate your time, Joe. And I would tell you that we've always sent our clients to you because of not only who you are as an individual, but you have, in our view, the best website for accessing techs and making it apparent to dealers. So our clients have always had good results using your company, and I appreciate your time today.
All right, well, thank you. Let me just finish out with one quick little saying that I think is very relative today. There's a saying that says, "There is no more deadly trap than the trap you set yourself." And that's why I say we have got to get out there and start getting the factories to understand and the dealers to understand how rare these guys are, and to do what we need to do to keep them in the game.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe, and thanks everybody for attending today's call, and I hope you have a super day. Bye for now.
You too. Bye.